Hello and welcome to the San Andreas State Police Department MDW training. This is our new tool that we are rolling out to the department to streamline department operations and put even more resources at your fingertips to use out on the streets. Today we will be using the demo system here that is provided to us by the state of San Andreas. We are going to go over each tab in some of the things that you will need to know on those tabs. The first tab, if you pull up your mobile data workstation while either in your vehicle or on your tablets that are provided to you by the state, you are going to see the dashboard. Please note that the dashboard is currently being reworked, and some things that you see on this are subject to change. The first thing on the dashboard is going to be the message of the day. This will change as we have different announcements that we want to get out to the department. Currently, you will see that it is talking about charges and pleas, which is your normal guidance that is given to you through the state's penal code on how to charge and accept pleas for suspects. Plea of guilty, you pay the fine and do the jail sentences. Citizens are not able to fight that in court. A plea of no contest, you pay the full fine and do jail sentence. Citizen can fight it in court. Or a plea of not guilty, the citizen does not pay a fine and does not go to jail, however, must post bail, which is double the fine amount, and the citizen must fight it in court. Please also note that bail is not applicable to any charge that carries the nines. On your dashboard, you will see recent incidents. These are incidences that you have pulled up into the MDW system and any incident that you have created recently. Also, recent reports and recent evidence that you have taken will also show for you currently on the homepage. If you move to the right, you'll see one of the new features that is being rolled out is the active officers. Any officer that is on duty will show up here on the active roster tab. Again, this is a work in progress, and there are going to be some things that get moved around or changed as time moves forward. If we go next to the profile system, this is going to be where you look up civilians, either through your interactions with them for arrests, for traffic stops, all that. You'll be spending a lot of time in this system. Because this is a state test system, we will only be looking up names of approved test cases. And the biggest test case that we do have here is Mr. Shaggy Rogers. Mr. Rogers, when you search for his name, we just did a first name search. Typically, you would want to do a first and last name search, or just a first or last name search, or you can also search date of birth and a few other things as well. Okay. So we know that we have Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers does not currently have a mugshot. In the event that you are arresting a suspect, this is where you will go to enter their mugshot. Please upload the mugshot to the department approved methods, which would be Discordia and that system's proper channels. Here on the profile tab, you will see their state assigned citizen ID, first and last name, all right, their identity information, their nationality, birth date, phone number, gender, any points on their driver's license, and their fingerprint unique identifier that is stored in the state database. You will also next see licenses, pilots, drivers, business, and weapons. Please note, not all of these are currently used by the state of San Andreas, and this will vary depending upon when the person was issued their driver's license first. If you're familiar with our old system, the tagging system used to be per report. At this time, that is going to be moved for these 4 instances. Armed violent threats on Leo or repeat offender will be moved to the profile tab. These are there will be further guidance issued by the department at a later date and time on when to apply these to an individual's profile tab. Next will be any vehicle that the suspect owns. If you will see here that this suspect owns a bunch of vehicles in the test database for the state of San Andreas motor vehicles. And you would be able to see any vehicle that they own, the name of the vehicle, and the plate number. Also, if the person has any owned houses in the city, that will show up here under the housing tab. And then their current employment information will show up finally at the bottom. Again, please note that things are changing throughout the new state system, and some of this information may be presented slightly different in the future. We will provide updates through the state's, the department's email system and or video training system. The next tab, which is going to be your primary tab that you will be using every day, will be the Incidents tab. The Incidents tab will house all traffic citation, arrests, and any other general citation that you would give a suspect. You'll create that in the Incidents tab. There will be some guidance on what the names of those incidents should be. Please make sure that you are checking the department's email system for that guidance information. Typically, if it is a traffic stop, it should start with traffic. If it's an arrest or a robbery, it may start with robbery. Again, refer to the department's email system and procedures on how to name an incident properly. For our test purposes, we are going to use traffic, and we're just going to put in a name. Again, don't follow this naming structure. Please follow the naming structure that is put out through the department email system on how to properly name incidents. Again, we gave a name to the incident of traffic, red light violation, postal 310. Then we are able to put in our narrative. This would be your typical narrative for either your arrest or citation of what happened that caused the incident to be created into the database. So this one, I'm just going to put test information, red light violation. Not going into a full report. Again, make sure that you are using the star method for your narratives on any incident, situation, task, action, response. All right, in this instance, we don't have any evidence. However, if we did attach evidence first in the evidence tab, we would then come here and add that evidence by doing a search of what you name the evidence. So fingerprints or the printout from your radar system, anything like that that you add to an incident, you would first add that into the evidence tab, and then you can attach it to the incident here. One of the most important areas is going to be officers involved. Since I, Lucas Hale, am the one doing this training, I'm just going to attach myself to that. I was the only one on this training incident. So I would attach myself. If there were other officers, you would attach those there. Again, easiest way to search is going to be by first name at this time. So, if we wanted to add Lieutenant Thomas, we could search for his first name or last name and then add him to the active officers or the officers involved as well. The persons involved would be any person that you obtained identification from while handling your incident. So if it's a traffic stop and there's 3 people in the car and you ID all 3 of them for whatever reason, you would add them to persons involved here. Please make sure you are adding the primary suspect or in the case of a traffic case, the driver first. So that would be Mr. Rogers. Again, just adding him to the incident. Also, any persons that you would obtain a witness statement from should be added to the persons involved, and then your incident report should reflect why they were added. At this time, the department has chosen not to use the tagging system. Please stand by for further guidance on that in the future. Then the next part is to add the criminal. So this is the person in this case that we'd be giving the citation to, which would be Mr. Rogers. And then you would go to edit charges to define your charges. Since this would be a red light violation, we can either search, which would be failure to stop. which would be right here. It would be a 0-month no jail sentence. It would carry a fine of $250 and 3 points. We would just click the plus button to add that charge to the citation. And again, if you have any you have any questions about what a charge is, there is a pop-up and it says failure to come to a complete stop and a posted stop sign or steady beam red light. Right turns are permitted at steady beam red lights as long as one yields to those who have the right of way. This is just to kind of guide you and comes directly from the state's legislation. At this point, this would be all that I'm adding to this incident, so I would say done. I am issuing this citation, so there would be no warrant. In the event that you are writing up an incident report and filing a warrant for arrest, you would be able to check this box and then select the typical 14-day expiration date, which is very simple to do by just counting down 2 spots. So if your date is the 17th, 14 days from the 17th would be the 31st. So you can just literally go down 2 spots and select that date. However, in this case, we are actually issuing the citation, so we don't need to do that. In the event that you want to reduce the fine or jail time in the event that this was an arrest, then you can click on the reduction and it calculates a reduction for you. Either it goes 10, 25, 50, 75, or 90% reductions. Please follow department guidance on when and how much you are able to reduce fines and or jail time. If there is no reduction, then that would be fine. So you would know there is no jail time, $250 fine, 3 points on the license. And then for traffic citations, you're just going to press processed. At that point, you would save and then create the new incident, and the incident would save into the database. If you need to recover that incident, you can simply search the word traffic, and it would bring up that incident ID, which was 21. Okay. So incident 21, if you have any physical evidence, you would store that into evidence locker 21 in the department's evidence lockers. Okay. In the event that you have a incident as in an arrest for a store robbery or something like that, and you need to add multiple criminals as you are processing multiple criminals for the charge, you can just do that here by also adding a second individual. We are going to use the first name Frank, and for this testing purposes, we are going to use Mr. Frankie Cho. So Frankie Cho would be the second individual. We would be able to add individual charges to him, even if they are different from Mr. Rogers, and continue to save that individual's charges and then save the incident report. Okay. If you are any of our supervisors have the ability to delete incidents, and if there's something that happens to where either a case gets thrown out, a ticket, or an arrest gets thrown out, the DOJ would communicate with us to remove that incident from the state system, or they may, in some cases, do that themselves. If they ask us to do it, we would just hit the delete incident button. If you have an incident that you were just referring to and you need to close it, you can simply click unlink selected incident or the chain with a line through it, and that will remove the incident from your view. The next tab would be the reports tab. On the reports tab, it's going to work very similar to the incidents tab, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on here. This is going to be if you need to provide additional information in a supplemental arrest report, if you are filing an investigative report, a vehicle crash report, crime prevention report, and there may be some additional reports added to the system in the near future based on department feedback and state law. Here, I'm just going to assign this a name as an investigative report. We're just going to assign the category, and we're just going to do a test. Investigation into armed robbery. In this case, you would want to be on the reports tab. You do want to be very detailed. All still using the department's approved method of situation, task, action, response, the STAR system. However, you do want to provide additional information so our investigators can pull up your report and have a decent base to work off of. But you would put your information here. So this is a test report. Again, I'm not going into a lot of detail in this training class. Tags here. We do have a few tags. Again, these will be changing out throughout the next few days, weeks, and months as the department continues to adapt the new system to our needs within the confines of state legislation. You would see some known criminal organizations would be here as a tag. These may appear as well on the incident report. That's something that, again, we will put out guidance on in the future. But you may see some of these tags show up in multiple places. Right now, the tags are Vagos, Balas, families, suspicious boxes, and in the test environment, it has weird. So don't worry about that one. Again, on a report, if you have evidence, fingerprints, anything like that, you would add it to the evidence tab first. We will show that next. And then you would be able to select that evidence and attach it to the report right here. Any officers involved in the scene, you would attach them here. The officer filing, I didn't say this in the last tab, the officer filing the report for either an incident or a report should always be listed first, and then any additional on-scene units should be listed after that. And any persons involved or persons of interest with the report that you're filing, you would attach them here. All right, moving on. Also, this works the same way after you attach all these. If you're attaching, after you complete your report, you would just create the new report here. And then you can search for the report the same way. And then you can delete or unlink the report or save any additional changes if you go back and add information later. All right, on the evidence tab, the evidence tab is going to be where you would include pictures of any evidence that was taken. This is going to be especially helpful for cases that move forward to the Department of Justice for trial and or future reference from the state police command staff or yourself in the event of any questions that arise from your incident. Currently, we have 3 types of evidence that the state has approved: robbery, homicide, or other. Again, this is one of those areas that more classifications may be added as time comes. Be mindful of that, and if you see new guidance on that issued by the department, make sure you abide by that updated guidance. For this instance, we're just going to create a test robbery evidence. We are going to call this robbery, and we are going to say 24/7 store at Postal 212, and then we are going to say fingerprints because we are going to pretend that what we are entering is fingerprints. Description: found these fingerprints were found near the register and safe of the above location. And then we are going to take an image of that evidence. Since I do not have an image of that evidence, we are going to attach this fine mugshot of Commissioner Alonzo Stiles. Let me attach that there. And we're just going to save that evidence. Now that I had that incident, we could bring that back up because we've now submitted that evidence, and we can attach the evidence that we created. And we see Mr. Commissioner Stiles there. And that evidence is now attached to the case for us to view later. Again, you also have tagging system here. This system is not currently being used. However, further guidance may be issued by the department in the near future on the evidence tagging system and how we would like you to use that. Moving on to the next tab, which is vehicles. Any time that you need to run a search on a vehicle, you would be able to do that in this tab. This is going to work very similar to our previous MDT system, where you search a vehicle by plate. Because I don't have a plate with me, I am just going to search the number 4. And hey, we got a whole bunch of plates back in the states database. So we're going to pick up this one, which is a baddie motorcycle with the plate for Papa Sierra 546 Victor Romeo. The current state of that vehicle is not being used, so please disregard that section. And then it would also say if there's any, if in the future the system would pull state if we have it impounded or something like that. It would show that there and show the price to remove it if there is a price attached to it, or if the vehicle is seized. Currently, the department is not using that functionality until further integration with the state of San Andreas parking enforcement and our impound systems. On this tab, you would be able to see the citizen ID of the owner. You would be able to see the vehicle information, as I already stated, the plate and the model of the vehicle. Any notes that are written by staff, by department staff, and then any tags, which we are not currently using, but there will be tags added in the very near future for stolen, a bolo, and a few others as well. So please keep an eye on that as well. In the event that we are going to seize a vehicle, we would like evidence to be attached to that vehicle. So if you seize a vehicle for, let's say, a drug bust, and you put over a vehicle and you search it and there's drug in the trunks or in the cars, we would like you to document that as evidence via photograph and attach that evidence. Again, first through the evidence tab, but then attach it to the vehicle and save it with your notes on the actions taken. Again, keep to the star method for your notes here, but this is a little less detailed. In the event of a seizure, you'd put seized in any time frame that vehicle is being seized for as per state guidelines. Right, moving on from the vehicles tab, we do have the charges tab. This is the same, well, a little slightly different take on the state's penal code and the old charges tab that we had in the previous state approved data system. The 4 charges at the top here are colored in red because these are those 4 charges that I mentioned earlier that would require the suspect to be held without bail. Other than that, any other charges are classified based on color, based on severity, or state classification of what those charges are: felonies, misdemeanors, things like that. If you have any information or need any additional information, again, you can always hover over the info button and that will give you the rundown of what that charge is. Also, you can see an overview of fines, jail, and points. There are no points that are given for non-vehicular related charges. However, there are points that will need to be added for all vehicular charges as we get down to those: driving under the influence, hit and run, driving with a suspended license, driving without a driver's license, and then, of course, we get into the green, which is all of your traffic citations, as well as the new parking enforcement citations as well. That is going to conclude the basic overview of the new state's mobile data system. for usage by the San Andreas State Police Department. If you have any further questions or need any additional information, please don't hesitate to reach out to your commanding officer for any further training or information on this system. We will not be covering any staff or configurable how to add a staff or anything in this training. Those officers that meet the rank of lieutenant and above that would be processing those will have a separate training for them. As the state, the only other thing that I do want to cover, as the state continues to adopt this system, you can expect to see full legislation that defines your normal charges start to be entered into here from the state legislature. That is expected to come sometime next year. And on a final note as well, be advised that this system is constantly changing and adapting to meet our needs. And we are extremely excited to roll this out to you. And we believe that you will enjoy this system as much as we have enjoyed using it and testing this system for the department. I am Deputy Commissioner Lucas Hale. Thank you very much for joining me and watching this video training. Have a great and safe patrol.